coming back. I was off Friday, so let's catch up to where we were off, where we were. So obviously we cast Thursday. So we cast the pipes have just gone out, so I'll put a picture either there or there of what they look like. Talking of pipes, we've also had pipes done for shot blasting today. So I'll put that we shown you last week, the rest of them are already. So they're getting collected tomorrow. The customers said, we're going to ask the customer, does he want to keep the patterns or does he want us to keep the patterns? Entirely up to him, as we'll look after them.
So when we were talking to the customer come on the Wednesday to come and collect the rest of them castings. We were discussing the castings, etc. And obviously we were talking about patterns, etc. So he collected all the patterns. He said, well, I'll take them out your way, I've got loads of space to store them. So he was going to store them. And he was made up with the service, more importantly. And he was like, I'm glad you used yourselves. He went to other foundries, etc. But he was like, you end up going through lots of chains of commands and you got to go through this person to go through this person. And when he got on the phone to us, he dealt with me straight away. And we just talked him all the way through it and kept him updated, which was good. And he was made up with that. And that's what it's about. And obviously we are only a small business, but there is only 4 of us that work here. But that's what it's about. Like, if you need something, need help, just get on the blower, get on the phone. Always happy to help. And more importantly, give the advice and what ways we would do it and what way we recommend. You're not gonna have to get on the phone to go through someone else. Just get the job done, get the job out the door, and I'll offer the best service that we can, and hopefully offer the best quality castings that we can, and more importantly, made in this country. And that's what it's about, because they were originally made in Italy. So nice job, nice lot of castings. They're all getting machined, so hopefully once they're near enough done, I might get some photos and see what they're like machined. I love that part. It's always the same. Like, we always just see the casting, and like once you start doing it, just the castings, it's always nice to know the next steps, and see how, like, the machining process. It's boss.
I'm at the moment finishing the rest of the Clayton jobs. David's also on the small Clayton rings, as well as the aluminium caps. But let's go this way. So we've got the newel posts, which are ready to go out. They should be going out this week, as well as the canal mile posts. Good thing with the newel post is that, like, when we get orders like this, it's great because I know that good castings to make and they're quite easy to make, to be fair, but they're not getting imported. And obviously it's massive where we can beat the prices from getting them imported into the country. They can be made local for a local, what do you call it? What's the word? Local council, shall I say. It's great, it feels good. One, it has our name on as well, which is more important. Well, it's not important, like, but it's good for us. The mileposts ready, they should be going out as well this week. Funny thing with the milepost is, this is the job that I remember. It's not the job I actually made, but it's the job I remember the most from when I first started in 2016. I put a picture of George where he was in the news article. But it wasn't, we haven't just done the half miles, we've done the full miles, we've done the little plaques. It was that job I remember. But they were always sat in the yard because they never come to collect them. But yeah, come on. Come with me and you'll see a world of our imaginations. You can pause it and start again once we're in it. Let's go and see Steve. Steve! So, we got Steve finishing these. He's nearly there, but we've got to have them polished up now. He wasn't happy last time. We want them polished. So Steve's finishing the horse and carriage brackets. But let's show you the Clayton jobs that we break ends. You just stay there. because it's dark in here. Here they are, all finished. Steve's made them nice now, after my fantastic moulding. Let's show you the jobs Paul made. It's quite rare when we get Paul on the shop floor as well. He doesn't really like doing very much. But he's done alright. He has made them upside down, but they've come out sound. He's now shaking his head behind the camera. We've also got these. We're getting a new pattern for the other half of these. These are axle boxes. So we're just waiting on the new pattern. New pattern to finish that order. Things are
So this is David's job. This is what David was making this week, and these are aluminium end caps. We're actually working off the samples provided by the customer. So what we do is, instead of just making one in a box, we put 10 in a box, 5 on each side with a runner through the middle. Basically straightforward. You just ram it up, ram the top up, the bottom up first, and then obviously the leftover sand you made bushes. We make our own bushes. A lot of fancies buy in sleeves. We both basically do the same job. So now once he's ram that up and done the bottom box, you got to do the top box. Obviously you can see there's the difference. You got to make sure it's compacted really well with these ones, especially with it being so small and in aluminium. Aluminium's going to show up every mark and every little mistake. Sometimes you get some in the box that are no good, and then you just don't run them in because it's not worth the effort in the longer term, especially in the dressing side, with it being aluminium. So sometimes you won't run that one in, so you might lose one, you might lose two. It's just what happens. So once obviously the sand's all gone off, we've got to take them samples out of the mould. As you can see, this is what David's doing here. He's taking the ones off the bottom first. They're actually drilled and tapped, so we can put little threads in and get them out easier, especially giving it little wiggle to try and get it out the mould, and then obviously taking them out the top side, which is on this video is on the right hand side. Obviously you can see the way it is completely different, and the way that'll insert into the bottom box, and then that'll create exactly the same. And then you might be thinking, oh well, it might shrink. Well, it'll shrink a little bit, but what we actually have is we have a little sample that it's going to fit on. I'll show you that next week's video. That was supplied by the customers. That means we can make sure everything's spot on, so all they've got to do is fit it on. They'd actually go on old radiators in the churches. These, it's actually quite funny making these, because we were halfway through the first batch. There was 120 in total, and the customer rang and went, can I have some more? I was like, yeah, sound, no worries. So we're going to make 170 of them. But once they're all done like that, they're glued and then they're cast. So we had these steel doors in for shot blasting. As you can see, we only blasted the front face on these. Due to them being very thin, we had to be very careful with slats in the windows. Didn't want to bend anything like that, so the difference it makes after being blasted. All paint off. So this is my job I was making this week. Well, one of them. These are the axle boxes that you've seen on the start of the video, where we were showing you the top half. We had to get the new core box made, which is that bit I'm filling up there at the moment. Got to make sure it's extremely tight, compacted really well, and you'll understand that once I take it out and why. Same with the box, it's quite tight around that side, the sides of the box, so I've got to make sure I've compacted all the way around. You got to make sure it's nice, well, yeah, it's got to be all compacted, because the better it's compacted, the better the job's going to come out, especially when you're working off an older type of pattern like this. But once the sand's gone off, I'm going to get the core out first, just flatten it off, making it sure it's flat. I've got to unclip it, put my own clips on, because I hate using clamps. You can clamp them, but a lot of pattern makers sometimes don't put the clips on, and I can't stand it, especially when you want to make a couple of them. So obviously it's come off, the top half's come off of the thing first, and it's starting to take shape of what it actually looks like. Gotta be quite careful with this, because I don't want to break it. So I'm just knocking it off, and you'll see it'll slide out, and then you'll see what it actually looks like, and it starts to make the larger picture of what it's actually going to make a lot clearer for myself when making the job and understanding the job. We learn as we go, and obviously that slid out, which could have been a bit dangerous, as in it could have broke that little groove that it was going to make. As you can see now, we're doing ramming the top off, and it makes it, you can see the black part there, that's the core print, so that's where it's going to sit, and you can sort of, if you break it down in your head, you can sort of understand what it actually is going to do. And the other castings we seen earlier on the start of the video, they sit on the top of this casting once this casting is finished. What I'm putting in the sand there is what our nudges, we call them, the locator for the top box to sit on. As especially having such a large amount of sand in the centre of this, you don't want nothing to break. What I'm putting on here is what we call parting powder, not farting powder, parting powder. Just helps, it's like a release agent, so in a way it helps release the top box from the bottom box, keeping a nice smooth finish. As I'm making another core as I go along, because I want to get all the cores done first so they go even harder, makes it more easier to work with when putting the cores in the moulds. And you'll get to that point and I'll show you, because it got a bit complicated and I had to do a bit of thinking, which is not very often. Now this is a garden gate transformation. Look at these, all full of white paint, all rusty on the undersides as they have never been galvanised. We had to turn these around in the next day. But the difference, after we blasted all of these, to that, look at that now. Ready to be powder coated, nice key surface for the powder coating to take, good as new. So once the sand's gone off now, I've got to take the top box away from the bottom box. Yeah, I am using the crane, even though I could just lift it, but I wanted to come up nice and straight to make sure that the top half of the box didn't break. I did do one and it did break because it wasn't hard enough and I needed to get it out quick. But hey yo, we learn as we go. We're always learning in this game. And as you can see now, the difference. So just putting the runners in. Well, that's the riser, in fact, I'm lying. On riser and a runner, the riser is going to be like my indicator and also feeds the casting once we cast. Like when the metal goes in, it'll come up that other end and we'll know that the box is full. The runners, I'm just doing a little runner on both sides. Well, 2 little runners on each side. It's a cast iron. It's still quite a big runner for cast iron, but it'll be alright. It's quite going to be a bit of a lump. See the cores there as well, and obviously you can see where the core's going to slot into that gap, and that is going to put a groove on the inside of the casting. Now I'm putting the mold coat on. I actually call this gravy. Well, we all call it gravy in our place, but it's not. It has a professional name, but it looks like gravy, so we just all call it gravy. Put that on, and then once it's on, I'll set it on fire, and it'll burn all the ethanol or white spirits off the top of the job. So we're at the stage where we've got to put the core in, and I got David over and we were both having a discussion as in to see which way we'd want to put the core. As you can see, that's what the core is going to sit in the job like, and obviously you can see the groove that it's going to make. But what we were discussing about is, should we put glue the core in the bottom box like how it was, or do we glue it in there? And what we decided is we were going to put it in the top box because we didn't want to lower over the core with the top box, because if it scrapes as it goes in, it's going to put sand in the bottom of the box, and obviously trying to blow it out is going to be a lot harder to make the job clean, and therefore there's more likely chance of not having a good job, and it'll more likely be a scrap job if there's sand in it. And we don't want that. Obviously we want to produce good quality castings all the way around, and obviously if we have a scrap job, it hits us in the pocket, not the customer, because we have to make the job again. So what I decided is going to put it in the top box and then lower it in, make sure I've lined it up correctly, and what I do is, to make sure it stays in, even though we have glued it, I've put 4 nails in it to add obviously durability and strength to the core, to make sure it doesn't fall or become loose as we're lowering it in. But what I have to do is to make sure I had it perfect. But when we rammed the top box up, obviously there was the outline of the core print, which was obviously in black. So that would give me a little indication in the sand of where it needed to go on the top box, so I could actually place it where it was going to sit, put it on, glue it in, nail it in, and then obviously when we go to close it, make sure it closes correctly. Obviously having the nudges in as well also added a good location of how the box needed to sit for obviously the centre, because we don't want no twists, but even putting the core like that could increase our likely chances of having a twist. So it was very precise. What I did do after I'd done the first one is I put the core on first before we black it, instead of doing it the way around. It was also made it a lot easier, because once you black it, it obviously adds a little bit of layer to the sand and makes it harder to see the core print. Now we're lowering it in, and we had to lower it in very carefully. First we try it on. Try it on, make sure it fits, make sure it goes down nicely. Done that by hand so we'll get a really good feel. Once we lift it back off, blow it all out, make sure it's clean. Get our glue, glue it around, put it back on. Job's a good one. So we had Carl down this week to pick up a set of our Liverpool bench ends. What Carl's going to be doing, he's going to be finishing the full bench. He'll be having the ends powder coated, and he'll also be finishing off with some nice oak wood. That set of bench ends are actually on the way to Portugal for a Liverpool fan. We also had a nice Carrera bike frame in for shot blasting. Nice blue, to be honest, quite like it. But look at the difference once it's blasted, all the paint's removed. You don't want to be sitting there with the sander. Obviously you can see the customer has tried that. Now look at that. Aluminium frame as well. That's going to now be powder coated. But looking fresh once it's finished. Also got another set of bench ends on order for another customer. So David's moulded them. And obviously this is once we put the mould coat on. I like the fire bit myself, so why not enjoy it? So the last day of the week, we always clean the sand mixer. So it's the last thing of a Friday. So I'll show you what it looks like after a week's worth of work. Got to clean it because it needs cleaning, and you'll see why. And that means on a Monday, first thing, when we close it and put it back together, it's good as new. And we also paint it in this, I don't know what it's called.